You guys are amazing. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Cocker, and we're really excited to have you here today. This is our first ever ADEA CAAPID virtual fair where there is a video. So we're really excited to be able to have that as a additional capability this year. So I will be doing some introductions, and we'll go around with all of our speakers today and have a chance to have you hear what does it sound like going from application all the way to acceptance. So my name is Rachel Cocker. I use she, her pronouns, and I am here from the University of Minnesota. And I will be facilitating this session. So I will turn it over to whoever would like to go next. Corey?
Yes, thank you. My name is Corey Berry. I'm so happy to be here to help make a difference in your application journey. I am from the Herman Ostrow School of Dentistry in Los Angeles. And again, I'm very happy to be here and help with any questions that we can address through this panel. And hopefully some of our ideas and suggestions will, relate to you in some way. So I'm very excited to talk to you. Thank you.
Great. Let's have Kizzy go next.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to actually join you all today. My name is Kizzy Lupui. I'm the Assistant Director for Admissions at Tufts University School of Dental Medicine. I oversee the IS program, and I work alongside Dr. Ronald Perry. And it's a pleasure, again, being here, and I look forward to speaking with you all and, sharing some advice and all the good stuff for application coming up in the next cycle. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. I don't know if Magali Vasquez, are you able to introduce yourself? We can also come back to you if it's not working yet. Okay, well, we can come back to you. So we are going to, oh, yep, I see you now.
Activity issues today.
No worries. We're just doing introductions, just name, pronouns, what school you are tuning in from, and then we'll dive into our questions after that.
Okay, awesome. So Magali Vasquez, I am the International Educated Dental Program Coordinator at Rutgers School of Dental Medicine. And I'm happy to be here today and seeing how we can help other applicants through this process.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be able to have such great representatives from these schools joining us today. So we'll dive into our questions. And those of you, we're going to be recording this session as well. So we'll be able to share this with you too if anyone's having any kind of connectivity issues. So the first question that I have for speakers today is, what does the application review process look like at your school? And is there anything that you want applicants to keep in mind as they are getting their application ready? And any one of you can feel free to start.
I guess I could kick it off. So again, welcome everybody. So for Tufts University, our application cycle starts in March. This next one comes up, starts in March of 2025. It will end on June 2nd this year. So our application cycle is much shorter next year. So March through June 2nd. So typically, once you submit your application through CAAPID, it goes through an initial review. So we're checking to make sure that you've fulfilled all the program requirements. And those requirements include your official TOEFL score, your ECE, your required letters of recommendation. And we check for all those things to make sure that you have them and that those are all fulfilled. Now, once those are fulfilled, it goes through the holistic review process. The holistic review is where we look at all your clinical experiences. So we're looking to see how well-rounded you are. So those sections are weighed, I'll say, quite heavily. Once that is done, it then goes through another review. So the review process, again, never ends. We look at your application numerous times. For those candidates who we think are well-rounded, you're extended an invitation to interview. Our interviews usually take place in person, so you'll be required to attend the campus in Boston. And that's where you'll meet some of our current IS students. You'll have a one-on-one interview with the program director. You'll also tour the facilities. You'll be required to take part in a preclinical assessment. So those are the in-person requirements for those that are invited for an interview. All right. There's also another component to the interview, which is done through Kira Talent. Kira Talent is a two-part assessment. So you'll be required to complete an asynchronous assessment virtually and a live interview with a faculty interviewer. So once all those are complete, your application is reviewed by the committee, and then we'll make a decision on your acceptance and go from there. So during the presentation there, you have a lot of information of what you can expect if you're accepted or if you're waitlisted. So that's kind of how the process goes here at Tufts. So I could add more later on if anyone else want to jump in.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that thorough overview. Corey, would you like to go next?
Sure. Excuse me again. I'm from Herman Ostrow School of Dentistry at USC in Los Angeles. I'm the admissions representative for the international program as well as the residency programs. So our process for the international program starts in March, of course, like everyone else. Our deadline goes a little longer. We are going to end sometime in July. I don't have that date yet, but we will be announcing that in March. Our requirements are very similar to Kizzy's. So we do look for those things first as far as your board results, your ECE and WES evaluations, et cetera. The way our process works is we begin reviewing applications as soon as they come in. So some of the things I want to talk about are things that we actually look for to see if you are eligible to become a student at our school. So we look for your clinical experience. Number one, we look for volunteer experience because we are community service driven institution. We also look to see what your recommenders say about you. That's a very big component of our review. So I think I want to stress the importance of finding excellent recommenders through your faculty, of course, and anyone that you have worked with in dentistry, whether it's outside of the country or in the United States. We also are very big on your personal statement. The personal statement tells us a little bit more about your story. So my suggestion is to make it your narrative. It is something that you should write on your own because we have started to notice the more robotic personal statements that don't appeal or that don't reach us. So don't try to be perfect when you're writing your personal statement. Just try to be yourself and try to tell us why you are so passionate about dentistry to begin with and wanting to practice in the United States. So we look for those things as far as unique attributes when it comes to applicants. So as far as those components are concerned, then at the final review, we have a committee that researches all of these, unique attributes that you've provided us, and they determine, who is going to be selected for an interview. Our interview entails a bench test, which we will talk about later, and also a group interview. So we want to see how you are with your communication skills. But in a nutshell, that is our process. And again, we end our application in July.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'll turn it over to Magali Vasquez.
Yes. So just the same as the other schools, Rutgers School of Dental Medicine does a very holistic approach in reviewing our students. Each applicant is thoroughly evaluated and reviewed not only through the admissions office, but also the admissions committee. We are driven and geared to helping students who are very strong applicants. We do not need a bench test, but we are looking for a strong academic profile. We do encourage students to submit their applications way in advance and not wait until the deadline. That's one of the biggest delays for very strong applicants as well, because CAAPID does take a little bit of time to verify these applications. Once the applicants have been reviewed and selected by the admissions committee, we will then invite applicants to come in for an interview. We do have usually 2 or 3 different in-person, in-house personal interviews that are held one-on-one with our applicants here at Rutgers.
Thank you so much. So I know that some of you have alluded to the interview process as well, but I'm wondering if we can kind of dive a little bit more into what that looks like at each of your schools. So what does the interview process look like at your school? And is there anything that applicants should do to prepare for their interview? Would any of you like to go first?
I'll go first.
Sure. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No
So I was
worries.
just going to say for the in-person interview, this is a very important part of your the overall interview, because during this time you're meeting in person with the program director. It's about usually 10 to 15 minutes because you're meeting with them. You're going to be able to express your motivation for dentistry, also assess how you interact with your potential classroom peers as well. For the actual virtual interview, I always recommend that you show up in an interview professional attire, because a lot of times folks will show up not in a professional attire. So that's one thing I just want to emphasize here. It is an interview, so I want you to make sure that you're prepared for an interview. So again, there's an asynchronous component where candidates are required to answer at least 8 questions. You're going to be recording yourself, so just be prepared for that. The live interview itself is a 30-minute increment, and you're interviewed by a faculty member. And again, you want to be able to ask questions and answer those questions on why you want to pursue dentistry here in the United States, and to articulate those clearly.
So much. Magali Vasquez, did you want to go next?
Yeah, that's fine. So when the applicants come in, we want to see that they are knowledgeable, and not just knowledgeable on the IED program itself, but what Rutgers has done within the community of Newark and the Essex County areas. We do a lot of community outreach. So we want our applicants to not just say, oh, I'm interested in your program because I live in state. We want to dive in a little bit more, know a little bit more of why. What attributes does Rutgers offer you or may offer you as an applicant to make you stand out more now as a dentist here in the United States? So we definitely are looking for applicants who are well diverse, well prepared for their interview with knowledge. I agree with Kissy. Am I saying that correctly? Okay, I definitely agree.
Yes.
Attire, professional business attire is very important during your interviews. I know nowadays we sometimes want to be much more casual, but it's important that first impressions mark the impression you want to set and the tone that you want to set for your application during, should I say, for your interview. Our interviews, like mentioned beforehand, are in person, and they're usually with one of the admissions committee members, which you have an opportunity to do. And then our presentation for the program director, which is Dr. Rosa Chaviano, who does a presentation and meets with everyone on a group level. But during that time, we do encourage students to definitely be on their most positive and most knowledgeable as possible during that process. And definitely visit the website. Be informative and visit the website. Become knowledgeable. Don't call in always. And we love to speak to everyone, but it's very difficult to speak to 2,500 applicants and answer questions. So definitely do your due diligence of going on that website.
Thank you so much. Corey Berry, would you like to share next?
Yes. Well, our interview process is all in person. We no longer have a online interview. We did in the pandemic, but since the pandemic is over, we now do everything in person, which includes an in-person interview as well as a bench test. So what we ask you, is really not to over-prepare, because we want to see the actual true you, who you are when you are collaborating with other peers. And that's what we do. We have you collaborate with a group of your peers, small We call that PBL, problem-based learning. It is a part of our curriculum, so we incorporate that into the interview. And it involves case-based learning in which you work with other students to solve, an issue with a patient. But the interview that you would be joining is just a small sample of a case, just so that we can figure out, okay, what are your communication skills like? What are your critical thinking skills like? Do you brainstorm? Do you share information? Are you respectful? All the things that you should actually know how to do as a dentist and just as a person, because we've all worked with other people in some capacity. So we expect that you would prepare in that way and just being open and honest about your ideas that you bring to the table. And as far as the bench test, the only thing we would suggest, we don't require, but some students will take, or some candidates rather, will do an online bench course, or they'll just look at videos, or they'll join an in-person bench course. So those are some of the things that our candidates in the past have done to prepare themselves for the actual bench exam. And it's a bench top exam. We provide everything for you. All you have to do is show up. And then also, again, we just like for you to be yourself, dress professionally. We shouldn't have to say that, but these days, as Magali had stated before, is that we're sometimes in a comfort zone, but things like that can actually affect you. You can be at the top as far as your performance, but if you don't dress the part and act the part and are respectful to others, then that can actually hurt you and hurt your chances in becoming a student. So that is our interview process.
I'll just add to that really quick, Corey. I think you made some really great points. And I would say, as Corey mentioned, we want to see how you interact with your peers, especially during the presentation day, because even though we've looked at your application and seen what you look like on paper, it's different when we see you in person. So just keep in mind that you're always being interviewed if you are invited on campus. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate going into that level of detail about the interview process. So the next question that I have for all of you is about for reapplicants. So if someone is reapplying, what are some things that they should keep in mind? What advice would you have for a reapplicant? I see Corey nodding, so I'll let Corey go first. Go ahead.
Well, the reapplicant, that's a hard thing to answer. We have so many reapplicants each year, so it's not uncommon to have to reapply. The first thing that I suggest is to remain positive. Just having a positive outlook and being confident in yourself can take you a long way. I do notice that doesn't always happen, and with certain candidates, they find themselves reapplying over and over and over again and asking, well, what is it that I'm doing wrong? I think it's the mindset. I think it's your thought process. I think positivity goes a long way in making sure that you are successful in some way or another. So focus on addressing specific weaknesses is also something that I would recommend. Going back through your application, evaluating your application as if you are on our side. So look at your application, tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to pretend that this is just an unknown person that I'm seeing for the first time. So I always suggest to candidates to always take a deeper look into their own application to see, well, you know what, if I were hiring someone for my practice or selecting someone for my school or program, how would I view this application? Would I see it as a strong application, mediocre, or would I see it as a weak application? And then as you dissect your own application, then you'll start to be more honest with yourself and figure out, well, what is it that I can add? What unique attributes can I add this time? What clinical experiences did I leave out? Or what types of service did I do, that I didn't tell the school? And also, I think the other important thing is to make sure you research the schools to make sure you understand what it is they're looking for. Not every school is looking for the same type of student. Not every student body is the same from school to school. So you have to network and visit the schools, go to information sessions. I mean, I can name a whole list of things, but these are some of the things that I would like to see candidates do so that they can become more successful, because we want that for you. We don't want you to have to reapply and reapply and reapply. It does become financially burdensome, and then it also, can make you feel doubtful of yourself. So we want to reiterate the confidence in yourself and in your skills, and then being positive, because being positive will take you a long way.
So much, Corey. Really appreciate that.
Mhm.
Magali, would you be willing to go next?
Absolutely. We definitely do encourage reapplicants to reapply. It is a very competitive process, and unfortunately, not all qualified applicants get in or are able to be interviewed. And many do get waitlisted, and the seats do fill up very quickly. However, if you have been interviewed, one of the things is do your follow up. If you have not been interviewed and you are a reapplicant, I agree with Corey. Go over your application, see how you can make yourself stand out. Do maybe an email of intent, take a campus tour, make sure that this is also the school you want to go to. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I've seen a lot of applicants just apply to one or two schools because that's the school they want to go to. And unfortunately, although we may all want to accept everyone, we just can't. There's not enough seats. And it's a very competitive program, but don't lose your focus. Don't get discouraged. Absolutely not. And in the event that you were interviewed and you were denied, and please then maybe reconsider other programs that may be more of your attributes and what you have to offer as well. But we definitely do encourage reapplications. But I definitely agree with Corey. Look over, see your volunteer hours, see how much experience you've also obtained. Review that personal statement, see if you can do any tweaks, if you can update it, anything that can and will make you look a stronger candidate than you did beforehand.
Thank you so much. I'll turn it over to Kizzy.
Sure. So with what I agree with all of you, what you just said, as far as reapplicants goes, each year we do receive a large amount of reapplicants. For our past application cycle, our application cycle actually doubled because we removed the residency requirement, which makes the program even more competitive. So for anyone interested in reapplying, I would recommend that you apply early, first of all. You want to highlight your any type of commitment. We want to see ongoing commitment to dentistry, how you've given back, if you've taken any advanced training courses, any internships in dentistry. You want to see that you've made some progress in your application and not the same exact thing. You may also want to consider updating your letters of recommendation at that time. So just again, looking over your application again, we want to see that there has been some type of improvement overall. So again, apply early and check your application for those things.
Thank you so much. So we've talked about the application process, the interview process, and then also advice for reapplicants. We're going to open it up to some questions, which I'm starting to see come up in the chat. So we will take those questions and answer them until our time is up. So one of the questions that I saw was about standing out. So this person was saying, like, how can I ensure that my application stands out and that I'm able to really put my best foot forward? So does anybody have some advice around how to make sure that their application stands out?
I would say, I think this goes for anything that you do, whether it's trying to get into a program like ours or applying for a job. You want to show or step outside of the box. I think what I noticed with many of our applicants, and also our pool has doubled as well since the last cycle. But one of the things that I see is that they're saying, well, I'm doing assisting, and I'm doing, volunteering, and I'm shadowing, but they don't really seek outside of those three things. So my suggestion is to try different things. If you are able to come to the US, if you're not living here, definitely try to come to the US to get some US experience. If not, then, do some research. I think our faculty looks highly upon students that or candidates that do research these days. So I think that's one of those gems that we have noticed make, good students and excellent students going forward. So I think research is a good thing. Try something as far as leadership as well. If you work in a dental office, if you can move up and you can become, the lead dental assistant or something like that, that's also stepping outside of the box. And also, I think good old fashioned networking, I think showing your face, coming to the school if you're able to, within reason. Don't just show up, but, call the school first, call the admissions office, call the person that is handling or that's coordinating that program and see, if you can make a visit. And that's another thing, you really have to be reasonable with your approach with the schools. But I find that getting to know students, whether it's at an information session or a one-on-one virtual appointment or a one-on-one in-person appointment, is actually like a pre-screening. I always take notes. I don't know about other schools, but you just never know what we're going to see when you show up, not just on paper and not just through that online application, but showing up in person or, letting us see your face and letting us see what your attributes are aside from the application.
So much. I'm going to jump to another question because we have pouring in currently, which is fantastic. So I do have another question. One person was asking, do schools consider students from all over the world? Are there any specifications about particular kinds of students that are eligible at your institutions?
And I could jump in on that one. So as I shared earlier, we recently expanded our residency requirements. So if you are a non-US citizen, you are eligible to apply. If you are also eligible for a student visa. So anyone can apply to our dental international program. So that is something we recently changed in our last application cycle.
And
Absolutely.
I definitely recommend also looking at the program finder to find out what the application requirements are and if there are any restrictions. There are plenty of schools that don't have restrictions and there's others that do. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Magali. Please feel free to jump in.
Well, I was just going to say for Rutgers, we encourage worldwide applications. We definitely want to have a very diverse class each and every year. So we definitely are looking for that diversity. One of the things that we definitely encourage, it doesn't matter, just make sure that you, like, I agree with Corey, personality goes a long way, being positive goes a long way. But if you are from out of the state, it's kind of hard to stop in sometimes, but maybe shooting an email and letting us know who you are once in a while is nice. We don't have residency requirements as well. So it's definitely open up for diversity.
Add to that also, the main thing that we're looking for any applicant is how you have been continuing your clinical experience. So we want to see that you're currently doing something in a dental field, that you're giving back to your community. So you could apply if you're doing those things consistently.
Thank you so much. Another question that I've seen different versions of are, so what if someone takes like the TOEFL exam after they've already submitted their application and they get a better score? Or what if they finish their master's degree? Or what if there's some additional experience they want to be able to add? How should they go about making sure that their application is updated with your school?
Great question. I would say what we normally do is have applicants email us and send attachment of their TOEFL score. We usually only look at the most recent TOEFL score. So any additional application documents you can submit to the dental admissions mailbox, and we'll attach it to your application from there.
Fantastic. So some other questions that I see are questions about, does your school prefer recent graduates or those with, 10 years of experience? Can you talk a little bit about diversity from that aspect in the pool at your school?
As for Rutgers, we have diversity with students that have just a few years of experience to students who have a specialty as endodontics or ortho as well. but we do want to see that they do have some type of experience. We're not frowning upon if you only have 2 years of experience, but we want to see those 2 years have been solid 2 years within the dental field itself and not just a part-time of 2 years.
Yeah, and for us, I agree. We are very diverse culturally. We're worldwide as well. It's an international program, so we want students from everywhere, and every corner of the globe. But as far as what we want to see in that respect is your true self. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I do have a few more questions that people have. One of the questions was just about like specific kinds of experience. Someone was asking, do I need research experience in order to apply to your school, or is there like a certain minimum number of years of work experience? Can you talk a little bit about some of those similarities or differences across your schools?
We don't require research experience. We don't have a minimum set amount of different types of experiences. But we, just like Magali said, even if you just have a limited number of years of experience, make it count. Do some things that are outside of the box. Get some experience doing research if you can. But like I said, we look at everything holistically. We're not looking at minimum hours or minimum number of shadowing or however many hours you're doing dental assisting. It's more of the quality of the work that you're doing. And especially, like I said, if you're doing volunteering, because our school specifically is community service driven. Many of our rotations are in community service, such as our mobile clinic, our homeless population for our Union Rescue Mission. So we're looking for candidates that choose all types of experiences and not just dental related always. We like to see someone who's well-rounded. Many of our candidates, they showcase their, hobbies, such as if they play music, if they play sports. So we're not just specifically looking for all dental related experience. We want to see the true person, like I always say, is your true self will have to shine through.
Thank you so much. I know that our time is winding down here, so maybe we'll just do a couple more questions and then we will finish up. But one of the questions that someone asked was just about letters of recommendation. Can you speak generally about what kinds of things you're looking for in a letter of recommendation and who they potentially should ask to write those letters of recommendation?
I will
Or I
go on.
can go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I would not recommend for your letter of recommendation to be a family member or a friend who's in the dental field. It's a conflict of interest. It really is. Make sure that it's a professor, a science professor, or a dentist that you have actually worked with, but not someone who's a family member or friend. It's definitely a conflict of interest. And I would say for them to definitely state your what makes you outstanding as a dentist and what will make you outstanding within the school as an applicant, should I say, as a student. It's also important to highlight your achievements within the recommendation letter if they are aware, and more importantly, to showcase where your strongholds are versus your weaknesses within that within that recommendation letter.
Thank you so much. Kizzy, did you have something to add?
So the letters of recommendation are very, very important. So at Tufts, we do require 3 letters of recommendation, one from your professor or dean from your dental school. If you're not able to get one of those, we recommend getting one from, if you do the master's program, you get a letter from your professor there as well. But again, make sure the person knows you, that they are writing a letter that reflects you as a person, because there are a lot of times where we see letters where it's just one paragraph or they didn't really know you. They can't really provide a lot of information about you as an applicant. So make sure that the person writing a letter knows you very well. The second letter is from an employer where you've worked for at least 1 year, preferably in a dental field. And a third letter from any volunteer organization or any dental related exposure that you've had. So those are the 3 required letters of recommendation. And I also just want to add that each letter must have an official letterhead, and it also should contain the person who wrote the letter, their name, their contact information. So those are the criteria for a successful letter of recommendation. There's so many letters that are submitted that are missing a letterhead. We don't know who it's sent from. So just again, make sure that you communicate with your evaluator and make sure that those things are done, because you cannot see your letter, unfortunately, but you'll get an email stating that your application is incomplete. And that is because your letter of recommendation does not meet that criteria. So just want to stress that for you. Again, just make sure the person knows you and that they could share, tell us about you, your experiences, and what unique attributes you can bring to the table if you are a student at our institution.
Great, thank you so much. Another question that I have is about gaps. So if someone finished dental school and then took a gap for whatever reason, whether that was family related, something going on, do you look, down on that, or are you open to that? So just talking a little bit about how you view gaps in someone's dental education or dental experience.
I think it is important. And it depends on what is happening. It depends on how long that gap is. I mean, if it's really long, like 3 or 4 years, then yes, you should really do a deep dive on that explanation. And we look for that information in your personal statement a lot of times. That's where I notice where, moms or first-time parents, who had to take time off from dentistry in general, explain, a little bit about their life, a little bit about their personal struggles. So there's lots of reasons for gaps, but if there's a gap at all, then I think it should be explained, because you never know what we're, thinking about that. So you want to make sure you cover all bases. Even if it's small, even if it's just 6 months, I say explain it. Let us know what you've been doing, or let us know why there's a gap. And then having a very detailed CV is very important as well. I forgot to mention in the beginning, I think that helps us get, a good snapshot of you, a quick look at you whenever we're starting to review the applications. A lot of times we go straight to that CV. So you can explain it there as well. But yeah, I think explaining your gap is definitely important, even if it's just a short amount of time.
So the very last question is, what should they include in their personal statement? What are some things that you think is really important that they make sure that they mention in their personal statement?
One of the most important pieces that we're looking for is, your passion for dentistry. Can you explain that in your personal statement? And again, how you would, what you bring to the table as a potential student at Tufts. What unique attributes, again, that you're going to bring that we haven't seen? How would you contribute to that community? So those are things that we look for: your passion for dentistry, and how you will contribute to our overall environment.
And also, if I can add, one of the things that we really impress upon our committee, or that our committee asks us, is, what are they planning on doing? What is their goal? So I think to always, end your personal statement, you want to highlight, what is your contribution to dentistry in the United States going to be? Or if you plan to practice here in the States, if you plan to make it a career here, make sure you explain what is your end goal. What contributions do you plan to make? Do you want to teach? Do you want to open your own practice? Do you want to go back in the community? Many applicants always talk about working in rural communities in their country. Do you want to continue that? I think that helps you connect more with admissions. It helps you connect more with the school, and it helps you connect more with our faculty, who, are sometimes some of those committee members who are evaluating you at the end and making that determination. Is this going to be a great student for our population. So always tell us, what do you think your contributions are going to be?
Great. So I know that there are many, many, many more questions that we can't possibly get to. So I would highly encourage each of you to take time to look at some of the other videos that are being posted, but also to stop by our individual dental school booths. That way you'll have a chance to interact with some of our admissions people from across the nation. And then as well, there will be some current students too. So I highly recommend taking the time to be able to talk with them and be able to ask your questions. But I sincerely appreciate all of you tuning in today and getting a sense of each of the schools that we talked to. And really excited that you are here, excited that you are taking the time out of your day to be here with us. We highly encourage you to apply. Some of you were asking about dates. I do encourage you to go into each school to find out when their applications are going to be open. For some schools, it'll be as early as March 6th, and for other schools, it'll be after that time. But you definitely want to get everything in order now so that you can apply early, like some of my colleagues mentioned. Thank you so much, and really appreciate the speakers. Thank you for your time today. Really appreciate you speaking about your schools and what that application interview and reapplicant process looks like. So thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you in our booths. All right, take care.